Good afternoon. Welcome to the 10th annual Mission Innovation event. It's so exciting to see you all today and to have this opportunity to be together. A decade ago, a small seed was planted with 15 students and 2 program strands. Today, that seed has grown into a flourishing ecosystem with 60 students across 4 specialized pathways that directly connect to economic drivers in Southwest Missouri. So what you will witness today represents more than just student projects. You'll see a culmination of powerful partnerships between education and industry, a bridge that we've carefully constructed between classroom learning and real-world experiences. Our GoCap students that we have with us today have spent the past year learning in real professional environments, tackling genuine challenges, and developing solutions that matter, that are making an impact to their business partners. They've moved beyond textbooks and tests, and they're embracing the unpredictable nature of innovation and entrepreneurship. And I think some of the experiences you will hear today definitely lend to that unpredictable situations and experiences that they're having. Through our embedded classrooms at Cox Medet Hospital, Jack Henry, Barry Lawrence County Ambulance District, the Mona Historical Society, and the University of Missouri Research Extension and Education Center gives these students hands-on experiences of what it means to think critically, collaborate effectively, and deliver results that have an impact. It also takes a very unique instructor that is out of the box, able to develop these individualized, personalized experiences that have given your students the amazing experiences they've had. So I want to be sure we recognize our instructors. We have Mrs. Teresa Huntress, our agribusiness and food systems. You can raise your hand, stand up. We all know each other really well here. Mr. Bill Whitman leads our morning global business and entrepreneurism strand. Mr. Garrison Ernest directs our healthcare and emergency services EMT strand and our medicine and healthcare strand. And then we have Mrs. Peg Winfrey with us this afternoon, who guides our teacher education strand. We're also deeply grateful for the various business partners who contribute in so many ways. They open their doors, they share their expertise, and they invest their time in mentoring our students, the next generation of professionals. So today's showcase highlights our student capstone projects they've pursued with passion and excitement. Each project addresses a real need, creates genuine value, and demonstrates professional capabilities that these young innovators have developed. So if you can, stay afterwards with us, visit with these students, see their project boards, ask them really hard questions about the obstacles and challenges. One of the challenges of developing a 4 to 7 minute presentation based on 2 to 4 months of work is how do you capture your story and tell it in a meaningful way. So there's a lot of things they haven't shared with you. So stay afterwards and ask them a few questions. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Huntress, who's going to introduce us about our capstone projects.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. We know that you took time out of your busy days to be here, and we appreciate the time that you're giving to us to let us share this remarkable journey that these students have gone through. So as a strand leader, we've had speaking for all the strand leaders, we've had the privilege of working with these remarkable students through this transformative year where they have grown, and I hope that you have seen that growth as well. Our approach to GoCaps takes us out of the traditional setting of a regular classroom. It takes us beyond that traditional curriculum and instead leads us into a professional environment where the students get to develop some critical skills through hands-on experiences. They've learned about professional communication and teamwork, problem solving in the real world, collaborative teamwork that works across the disciplines. So what you'll see is the medicine strand will work with the agribusiness students. The agribusiness students will work with the teacher strand. We all come together for certain activities, especially during our monthly huddles, and it gives them a time to dialogue and network with one another. They've learned project management, and most importantly, they've learned how to transform their ideas into true actionable plans. The capstones that you're going to see today is part of an experimental learning approach that they've developed. Last fall, we asked the kids to identify and pursue a project that would showcase their growth and allow them to make a meaningful contribution to their business partners. Now, doing this, we've asked them to develop 4 key skills. The first one, each project has to stem from a personal passion that they might have. So you might see a project here and you think, well, how does that tie to agribusiness? Or how does that tie to the EMT strand? But you will see that they do tie that together because it's based on some of the learning skills that they've developed. This has to be something that they're truly enthusiastic about, where they can identify their talents and tie that to their curiosities. Second, each project must be creative and add value for a specific business, organization, or the community. This ensures that students understand that innovation isn't just about creating something, it's about creating something that is useful and meaningful to them. Third, the project must be tangible, so they must be able to measure their results. So this allows them to develop a metric of their own for their own success. So you'll see as they tie their project up at the end, you'll see how they tied that to their measurable success. And finally, each student has to work through the community, through a community mentor through their project. So this allows them to get outside and network and develop some of those relationships beyond the classroom. What you're going to witness today is the accumulation of months of research, planning, and development. These projects represent not just academic achievement, but it helps to measure their professional growth, both within the community and within the classroom. After they're done with their presentations, please do stick around. Join not just your students' project board, but go and visit others. We'd love for you to see all the hard work that they've put into that. So, it is now my honor and my pleasure to introduce the first student presenter, Clayton Withnow.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Clayton Withnow, and I'm a senior at Verona High School, and I'm a part of the agribusiness and food systems strand. So what we have here is the Hickman Project. The Hickman Project is more or less where they take walnuts, and so Missouri relies mostly on wild walnuts. And so what the Hickman is a cultivar, and it takes it and makes it and you graft it together to make the cultivar to get like a thinner shell around the nut and then more nut meat. So my business partner for this whole project was Mr. Jay Chisholm. He is a really great guy, and no matter what I needed, what supplies I needed or anything, he was always there for me and always helped me out no matter what. My project purpose was to produce a walnut that had a higher yield and a higher yield consistency and a smaller nut shell and more nut meat. What is grafting? Grafting is whenever you take 2 plants and you combine them together to make one. Why grafting? Grafting can help with a better root system and with your yield and give you a consistent yield and makes a stronger plant and helps with diseases. You have 3 different types of grafting, and there's more than just that. You have bark grafting, veneer grafting, and cleft grafting. Bark grafting is whenever is used for a larger diameter rootstock, and veneer grafting is one or more smaller scions are grafted onto a much larger rootstock. And then cleft grafting is a technique which the union of the rootstock is much larger than the scion. What is a cultivar? A cultivar is more or less what you get after you get done with your grafting and all of that. So whatever comes out as buds or whatever it is your cultivar, and it helps out with it. What is a scion? A scion is the top piece to what you graft onto the rootstock, and you take that and more or less you have a bunch of different tools, and then you can just combine them together with rubber bands and all of that and make sure that they're on together. So The whole reason why I did this is because we don't plant trees for our generation. We plant trees for future generations. And so what I want to be able to make sure is that when my kids are older or whenever they get here, that they are able to see what I did to help out and all the walnuts and Hickman walnuts.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Riley Ray. I'm a senior at Monette High School and a second year in the Go Caps Medicine and Healthcare strand. And this year I am in the sub-strand known as Emergency Medical Services.
My name is Garrison Ernest, and I am our medicine and healthcare instructor. I am also our instructor of our new strand, our healthcare and emergency services, as well as a student with our EMT program. And so today we are going to talk a little bit about our EMT experience. So 2 years ago, we came up with this crazy idea that we wanted to allow our students to have some sort of certification as they walked out of our Go Caps program. And so we kind of put our heads together and we decided that maybe we could get an EMT certification. And so fast forward 2 years, we were able to partner with the Barry Lawrence Ambulance District as well as the Monette High School. And with a little bit of help from our Monette Community Foundation, we were able to start our new strand that allowed our students to get an EMT certification. And so part of the reason that we wanted to do this was to allow our students to be able to have a stepping stone into their healthcare career. Many postgraduate and graduate programs now want you to have some sort of certification, whether that be a CNA certification or an EMT certification. And so this is just one avenue for students to be able to kind of achieve that and move themselves forward into a healthcare career.
Another thing with this program that this program provides is a lot of hands-on experience. I would say about 50 to 50% of our time in the classroom is spent doing hands-on skills. This teaches us how to communicate with other people. It also teaches us how to do the skills. Another thing that we do that you'll hear about later is we do ride-alongs. And these ride-alongs are about 12-hour shifts. And what we're doing is we're working on our skills, we're getting our patient contacts, and we're just learning how to work in the environments that we're put in.
Yep, so along with the ride-alongs, this program also consists of classroom lectures as well as a workbook that we have to go through. And we also do a lot of different skills and ride-alongs within our time together with our EMT class. So a couple of the skills that are a couple of the lessons, important lessons that we have learned. One of the major lessons that I think I learned along this way within patient care is to not get tunnel visioned. That is a kind of a big deal, especially when you receive a call and you go see a patient and you kind of think on the way there you may have an idea of what is actually going on with this patient. And so when you make contact with that patient, a lot of times you already have it in your head, this is what's going on with them. And so that kind of came into play for me when we were doing a practice assessment. So I was assessing a patient, it was a practice, and so they had complained that they were having chest pain. And in my mind, I got totally tunnel visioned, and I thought, okay, I know what the problem is, and I'm going to take care of this problem. Instead of actually listening to the patient and kind of learning more about the situation and knowing what was going on. So that was a really major lesson that I could take away that I can share with students and take away if I become a healthcare provider as well.
One thing that I learned when joining this class is that you have to be a problem solver and you have to think outside of the box a lot. For instance, a nasal cannula is typically used to go up into the nose, and it's used for oxygen. However, in some instances, patients get chemical burns in their eyes, and we have to flush this out. Typically, it's done with a syringe, but sometimes you have to be there for 20 to 30 minutes flushing this out, and that gets kind of repetitive with the syringe. So one thing that a really smart EMT or a paramedic did was they took a nasal cannula and they took a bag of saline, and what they did is hook the two together and just hooked it right on the brim of their nose, and it flushes that water, or flushes the chemical out with the saline, and it works really well, and it can be very consistent.
So like I said, some of the things that we have to do within this course is that we have to learn several different skills. And so Riley and I are going to talk about a couple of different skills. One of them that I found really interesting was assisting patients with ventilation. So breathing for them or assisting them breathe with a bag mask, or what is known as a BVM. And so part of that is just making sure that that patient's airway is clear, making sure that that mask is properly put on them, and then helping them breathe every 5 to 6 seconds. And so I'll talk about our one of our instructors who is a really good mentor for us, but she actually taught us how to do multiple things at once because there's a lot going on in an emergency situation. And so one of the ways she taught us how to do that was to hold the kind of the bag in our palm and kind of sort of count down with our fingers so we know that we are giving those breaths in a timely manner. And so along with having a BVM, you also have to kind of assist those patients that are not breathing on their own in various different ways. And one of those ways is an eye gel, and Riley's going to talk about that skill.
So we typically use an eye gel for when patients are unconscious because it can activate their gag reflex. And one of the situations that we most often use it in is during CPR. This is because an eye gel blocks off the esophagus and doesn't allow vomitus to come up, which is known to happen during CPR. And it's just really useful, and it gets the oxygen right into their lungs right away. And it's pretty simple to put in. You can drop one in, and we practice in dropping one in less than 30 seconds. And that's also securing it to the patient, putting on oxygen, and also putting on a CO2 monitor. So we're able to do all of this in just 30 seconds, and that's one of the reasons why we use an eye gel during CPR, is just because of how quick it is.
So one of our, I would say probably our favorite parts of the course are the ride-along times. And so we are required to get 4 12-hour shifts. Within those shifts, we have to try to get at least 10 patient contacts, and most of our students have over those 10 contacts. And so I've all kind of talked about our ride times and the patient contacts that we have gotten. And so one of the ones that kind of stands out most to me is we had a patient that we got called to who's having chest pains, and the patient was having chest pains for over 24 hours. And so we got to go, I got to kind of do the assessment with the paramedic along with them, and we got to take care of this patient from the patient's house all the way to the hospital. And it was really interesting to me. I got to practice one of the skills of assisting a patient with medication to help with that chest pain, as well as getting to see the patient's pacemaker kind of kick in when it did.
One of my ride-alongs I really enjoyed was a seizure patient that we had. It was actually my second ride-along, and it was just really cool to see because there's this thing called the postictal state, and what happens is when a patient has a seizure, their neurons in their brain kind of get out of order, I guess you could say. And then what happens is while they're lining back up, this patient might have kind of an altered mental status or act different. My patient was aggressive. They were kind of aggressive, and they didn't want to go. They didn't know their birthday. They didn't know where they were or really what was happening. And due to our protocols, that means that we have to take them on the ambulance to the hospital. So what we did is we took them, and in the next 15, 20 minutes, I would say, they kind of just all of a sudden snapped out of it, and they had a whole different outlook on everything. They had no clue that they had a seizure. they were making jokes with us. They were happy-go-lucky. It was just really cool to see of how a patient's personality can change in just 15 seconds.
So we have a few different instructors, and Riley and I had chosen Alicia Stewart as one of our instructors that we found to be a really good mentor for us. And so Alicia has been with EMS for 16 years, either as an EMT, a firefighter, or a paramedic. And so she is a great resource for us. One of the biggest lessons that I kind of took away from her is I got to be on a call during one of my ride-alongs with her, and we had a patient that was kind of in a lot of emotional distress, and just watching her emotionally care for the patient, not just medically, but also emotionally care for the patient, was a really cool thing, and I learned a lot of different techniques and lessons to help take care of patients that are more in emotional distress than they are kind of that physical distress. And so we asked her kind of some strengths and weaknesses about Riley and I, and it was kind of cool. She said that Riley and I share a lot of common strengths together, that we both share similar values and integrity, work ethic, those sorts of things. And one of the things that I already knew about Riley, but it was nice to hear about myself as well, was that we both kind of strive for success. And so that was really nice to know. And then when we talked about our weaknesses, a lot of our weaknesses kind of strive or go off of our lack of experience with patient care and just our ride times in general. So as far as her takeaway of this program, we asked her what she thought of it, and she said it was really awesome to see the growth in all of our students from kind of when we first walked into the classroom until now, and seeing just how all of our students have grown, all the things they've achieved and learned through our time together.
The way I plan to use this certification is by using it as a stepping stone, kind of like what Ernest said. I plan on going to jury for pre-med, and it just gets you that head-on advantage in front of everyone else that's going into pre-med. You also get lots of experience. It can help you with scholarships. But I also plan, while I'm at jury for pre-med, I also plan to work on an ambulance. Not only for the extra cash, but also for the work experience that you get. You really can't get any other experience like it. You see everything. EMTs are very versatile. You see everything, and you can either get a really low patient that really doesn't need a whole much, but you learn to care for them, or you could get a really bad trauma situation. And it's just a really good program that allows you to get into that medical field that you want to be in.
So overall, I kind of had a unique perspective as an instructor for these students, but also as their peer in this class, that I got to personally see how they grow and be integrated into their learning as well. And so it was a really unique experience for me to be able to watch and learn with them as we kind of went through this program. And so I feel like this program was a huge success, one that I hope we can continue to grow and we can get more people involved in emergency services.
One other thing that I would like to say about this program is it doesn't only help you in the medical field, it also helps you throughout all walks of life. This is because it teaches you how to have good work ethic. It teaches you how to study. Study is a big one. This class really taught us all, I think, how to study, and it really prepared us for college. It also teaches you how to have sympathy and empathy for others, which is really important wherever you go throughout life.
So as the next few groups of EMT students come up and they talk about their experience as well, I hope that you'll find that they are very passionate about not only emergency services, but taking care of patients and being able to be a part of the healthcare system. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Paige Elliott. I'm a junior at Marionville High School, and I'm in the Agribusiness and Food Systems strand of GoCaps. This year's project was the butterfly effect. Throughout the duration of my project, I had two business partners, Mr. Chet Butterworth, who currently works at the Southwest Research Farm, and he is a GoCaps associate, and Miss Nicole Riker. Miss Nicole Riker is a former second grade teacher of mine who generously allowed me to come into her classroom to teach her second grade students about the importance of butterflies. Butterfly pollination is extremely important because it just helps in general with the ecosystem, and it just allows plants to form. This is a graph that I discovered that dates from 1995 to 2017. As you can see, from 1997, this graph significantly decreases, allowing us to realize the decrease in butterfly population. There are many different threats to butterflies, which include invasive plants, heavy equipment, and pesticides. Invasive plants generally just take over butterfly plants and they don't allow food to grow for them. Heavy equipment such as cars and tractors, they destroy butterfly habitats also. And pesticides, they are used to kill off invasive plants, and they also kill off butterfly-safe plants and cause memory and harm to them. So for my actual project, I had went into Ms. Riker's class, as I already said, and taught students about the importance of the butterfly population. During this time, I taught them about the life cycle of a butterfly, and we did a fun activity about that, testing their skills. At the end of this class period, I had given them seed packets, sunflowers and zinnias, to allow them to build their own butterfly habitat, making executive efforts to increase the butterfly population. These are some butterfly-safe flowers that you can plant if you were to build your own butterfly habitat. My next steps. As for my next steps, I would like to build a butterfly house and raise butterflies on my own. This is continuing to make executive efforts to increase the butterfly population, as should you guys do as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cody Gregory, and I'm a junior at Mount High School and part of the GoCaps EMS Healthcare Services strand.
Hi, everyone. My name is Addison Harris. I'm a senior at Monad High School, and I'm also part of the Healthcare and EMS strand.
Hi, my name is Tatiana Alvarez. I'm a junior at Aurora High School, and I'm also part of the EMT strand.
So in the EMS strand, as Mr. Ernest said, we experience a lot of, things we normally don't see in our life by doing ride times and sitting in classroom learning about how to be a good, competent EMT. From some things that I've experienced is how to tie a tourniquet using resources that's available to you, such as a pencil or a piece of cloth, to help tighten the wound where it's bleeding out of.
Something important that I learned is the skills aren't as easy on a real person as they would be when you're practicing. So something we got to learn is how to insert an NPA to clear the airway and give somebody breaths. It's really easy to practice on a mannequin, but it is very difficult to practice on an unconscious patient that needs the airway, and that's something important I learned.
Something else that we got to experience is how to put a patient on a backboard. So someone is holding the patient's C-spine, and that's pretty much where they stay. They don't really move from there. And then there's two other people on the side of the patient. They roll over the patient, and while they're doing that, they can also check the patient's spine to check if there's no step off or anything. And then they get the backboard and place the patient on it and secure them. And on the headman's count is when, so it's on the headman's count is when they know when to put the patient on the backboard.
So for the skills we've learned is osculating, for me, is osculating lungs for Rales, stridor, bronchi, or wheezing, and also fluid in the lung. You do this by having to, palpate where the lungs are at, feel, and you can also hear, with a stethoscope, and sometimes you can just hear it on your own with Rales and bronchi, stridor, and wheezing.
One of the skills that I got to learn is suctioning the patient's airway. So when you open a patient's airway, you could find anything from vomit and water if they're a drowning patient. It's very important to clear out the patient's airway before you begin giving them breaths, because if you give them breaths with something in their airway, it'll push it to their lungs and their stomach, and they could puke more up.
So a skill Mr. Ernest already talked about, but me and Addison actually got to do this with an actual patient. We got to ventilate the patient. So Addison was holding the bag or the mask on the patient's face, and then I was just giving them breaths the whole entire time. And it was really interesting to put that into perspective.
Ride-alongs. For my favorite, we had a person that had a leg brace. So we, suspected polio. We asked him questions. He said yes to having polio sometime in his life. And, we transported him. He was in altered mental status. We had to transport him to, I believe it was Cox Monette. Also, another thing he had on was 4 medical bracelets with 4 different names, so we couldn't really figure out an idea what his actual name was.
So for my ride along, it's the patient that me and Tatiana had. She was in DKA, which also means diabetic ketoacidosis. Her blood sugar was so high that she was unconscious, and when we took her blood sugar, it read as high, which means over 600, when the normal is 100 to 150. And that was the patient that we had to breathe for her because she wasn't breathing properly because of how much stress her body was under, and it was really cool.
So with another ride-along, so a skill that we also learned is patient assessment. And for me, for one of my ride-alongs, I actually got to put that into perspective and use the paper that we used and just follow those steps that we've been learning in class and ask the patients, just talk to them and ask them their history, and it was just really interesting to put that into perspective with an actual patient.
So my suggestion for getting an EMS is to prepare yourself both emotionally, mentally, and physically, because you can come on to a call with a mass trauma incident on, say, I-44 or just out on Cleveland. And you got to be calm, collected, and confident for that patient to take care of.
Another thing to prepare for is prepare to make friends. When you come into the EMS strand, you're coming into a group of people who are interested in the same thing as you. They're interested in getting more professional. They're interested in learning about how to take care of patients. And when you join, you're going to come in and you're going to make a bunch of friends. Don't be reserved and stick to yourself. Be ready to talk to other people.
Something else to also be thinking about is in this class, it can be stressful. There's a little bit of time where you have to do a lot, and then not only just for EMT class, you also have other classes to deal with. So it can get really stressful, and with how much studying we have to do for this class, it takes up a lot of time. But at least for me personally, there have been some times where I do get stressed, but it's also helped me how to manage my time and kind of know what ways to study.
So for
the mentor that we chose Kayla Snow. She was formerly in the military before she joined EMS, and she got her license about a year ago, so she's a fresh EMT. We got to learn about how she's been struggling and what she's been going through, and she's taught us to focus more on what you can do instead of focusing on what you need to figure out how to do. So instead of focusing on my patient is not breathing correctly because of this, focus on, I know what this problem could be, but I can do this to help with all of the other things.
I plan to use my EMS training to incorporate my skills into the hospital care setting from the pre-hospital care, because then I will be able to know what those EMTs have to go through to get that patient from point A to point B and how the protocols are.
I plan to use my EMT certification to jump into midwifery. Instead of having to go and get my CNA license, I can use my EMT license to just get an associate's and become an RN so that I can go straight into my midwifery program, and I will have more experience in everything else just in case I want to switch jobs in the future.
So I will be using this certification kind of just as a stepping stone into the medical field. I plan on doing NICU or OB. So this, with the knowledge that we've gained in this class, I just plan to use that for the future.
And then our last slide is just a big thank you to Ernest and Miss Mayerman for allowing us the opportunity to try the EMT program. And a thank you to our instructors for teaching us everything we know now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Reagan Gaywood. I am a senior at Mount Vernon High School, and for my project, I decided to partner with Doty Trash Services. Doty Trash is a waste management service that helps with waste collection around several surrounding areas. They haul off about 50,000 tons of waste a year. My business partner is Waylon Doty. He's been a manager since 2016, but he's been an owner since 2019. His father started the business, and then later on it got passed down to Waylon. My other business partner is William Gatewood. He's also my father. When I started this project, I immediately thought of going to him because he's been in this business for 10 years. I asked him if he had any problems, but he later led me to contact Waylon. So then I asked Waylon what 3 problems he had that was reoccurring in his business. He gave me employee retention, inflation, and growth. I decided to focus on employee retention because many businesses struggle with this problem. Employee retention can reduce productivity, create toxic culture, and drive talent away. This being said, other people may look at Doty as a bad environment to work in. To help Waylon understand why employee retention was a problem, I created a survey that focused on job satisfaction, team dynamics, communication, and working conditions. A few questions that I asked on my survey were, do you feel that your contributions are recognized? What aspects of your job do you find most rewarding? And how satisfied are you with your work schedule and your route assignments? 5 out of 6 responses were positive. A few more questions from my survey. Do you feel that the communication between crew and management is good? How safe do you feel on your routes, and how responsive is management? Again, 5 out of 6 responses were positive. After putting the surveys into graphs, I realized that job satisfaction was not the problem. There was just one employee that did not enjoy their job. So I decided to create an exit survey for Waylon to hand out to the employees that decide that the job is not for them, so he can have a little bit of feedback on why they left. I've learned a lot throughout this whole entire project, but one of the most important things I've learned was communication. Before doing this project, it was really hard for me to communicate with many individuals, but after doing this, I got really comfortable doing it. My goal is to continue to increase job satisfaction in many businesses. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Garcia, and I'm a junior at Mount Vernon High School, and me and my group are a part of the Healthcare and EMS EMT strand.
Hello, everybody. My name is Allie. I am a junior at Monett High School, and like Brian said, we are part of the Emergency Services strand of Go Caps.
Hi, I'm Magali. I'm a junior at high school, and I'm also part of the EMT.
So we would like to talk to you guys about our experiences in the EMT strand. One of my favorite experiences was the MSSU Simulab, and it was a really cool experience. We got to play around with an adult mannequin and a baby mannequin, and they were really lifelike. You could take pulses, you could listen to lung sounds, and yeah, it was really good for assessing patients, or practices for assessing patients. And the reason it's my favorite is because it reminds me how cool technology is. We've had many advancements in the medical field and in other fields as well. And I think it's really great that we were able to practice on these mannequins that are so lifelike, even though it is a bit creepy. But I honestly would rather mess up CPR on a mannequin than a real patient and have them die on me. So that's why I like it.
So my favorite experience has definitely been the ride-alongs. You just learn so much from them, and it gives you a better insight than just sitting in a classroom and reading off of slides. So I had a call about a patient who had a very high heart rate. And the reason this call stood out to me so much is because we were able to really help him. My paramedic told me he suspected an aortic fibrillation. So we gave him fluids, and his heart rate drastically changed. And by the time we got to the hospital, he was so much better.
My favorite experience was also the one Brian said. I really liked practicing on the mannequins. We also got to practice on the baby mannequins, which I really liked.
So for the EMT course, we were given 9 of these sheets, and we call them skill sheets, and they're basically just skills that EMTs use on a regular basis. And one of my favorites is a medical patient assessment. So a patient assessment, there's 2 types. There's a medical and trauma, and they're basically interacting with your patient. I'm assuming a lot of you have been to the doctor at one point or have been on an ambulance, and for me, I've been to a doctor before, and I think that, or I used to think that their questions were a bit pointless. You know, when they're asking you what was the last thing you had to eat or how old you are, I thought, well, if someone's dying, why are you asking that? They don't want to answer your questions. But as we went throughout this class, we really got to learn why we do what we do and why we ask the questions we ask. And it's just been interesting to see how important everything is. For example, if an EMT goes up to you and asks you what the last thing you had to eat or drink was, well, it's important because if you're diabetic, that could explain why you're having some of the symptoms you're experiencing. For medications, if they ask you, hey, are you on any medications, that could really affect you if you, for example, take blood thinners and start bleeding out all over the place, or if you're taking medications that could also affect surgery. A really good example, I think, is age. If someone asks you how old you are, babies, they can really vary on their heart rate, their blood pressure, their skin color and condition. So for example, a heart rate that could be normal for a 1-year-old could be really dangerous for a 2-month-old. So I think it's really important, everything that we ask and do during these assessments. And they're my personal favorite because there's so many ways you can do them. With all the EMTs I've shadowed, everyone has their own way of doing things, and they even change it during certain situations. Some questions that they might ask during a routine patient assessment, they might skip completely for an emergency situation. And I just think it's really interesting, and it's really great that I get to mold it into my own personal way of doing things.
Okay, so my favorite skill is the trauma patient assessment. Unlike the medical, I'm not a big fan of asking the questions. I like that it's very straightforward. All I gotta do is I go in there, I see what's wrong, and I fix it. It's not a whole bunch of solving anything. And there are a few questions, but in the end it's a lot less. So what you do is you walk in, you get life threats out of the way, and then you'll ask a few questions, and then you go into your secondary, and that's when you really find out what you can find.
So the skill that I'm going to talk about is CPR, and CPR is obviously when someone's unconscious. You would first check, their responsive, check pulse, and then you give them, you would start compressions 30 times, and then give them breaths, and then you would shock them.
So this class has done so much for us in so many different ways. My big one that stands out to me is just how much it has prepared me for college, especially in studying methods. Before I got into this class, I really wasn't a big studier, but then my grades kind of showed that I really needed to step that up. And now I'm doing so much better than I was at the start, and I'm so thankful for that. And I really just, once you get in, you get a whole different mindset, and it's just important to keep up with it. And for me personally, I don't have any improvements, but I do want to just tell anybody that if you're interested about this at all, it's really important just to keep on top of everything. Don't get behind. Make sure you're staying up with your workbook, studying, and remember you're going to have to put time outside of class into studying as well.
So this is our mentor. His name is Brian Smith. He has been an EMT for several years, and he's currently in training to become a paramedic. When we interviewed him, he told us that he was proud of all of us, not just my group, of how much we persevered throughout the entire course. It's really fast-paced, and there's so much to learn about the human body, and he's just proud of us on how we've been able to manage studying, doing our homework, going to regular school, and some of us even handling our jobs. So he's proud of us for being able to handle all of that, and I'm proud of us too, because it's been a lot on a lot of us. And our criticism that he had on our group was he expects us to communicate with the EMTs that we ride along with, whether that means going up to them saying, hey, can you show me how to do this, or can you show me where this is on the ambulance. It's just really important to communicate with the people that you're around with. And I think it's a really valuable lesson, not just in the EMT career, but in other places too, like in school. It's important to communicate with your classmates, with your teachers, and that'll just up your entire school experience. Also in jobs, we're going to be working with people that we don't like, people that we do like, and it's just important to be able to work well as a team together. And for us, we think that Brian is an amazing mentor. During the beginning of the year, we were really nervous. We didn't know what to expect out of the EMT class. We heard that it was really hard, and that was basically all we knew about it going into it. But he really eased us in. He was friendly towards all of us. He made the lessons really interesting. He told us stories that would get us captivated into what we were learning that day, and I think that he's just an amazing mentor overall, and we don't have any complaints about him. So with my EMT certification, I plan on using it in a lot of ways. One, I think the skills that you learn from it and all the knowledge you get is really important. We all have loved ones, we all have friends that we want to keep safe. And for me, I think it's really important that I just learn these basic things that can help keep our family members safe. For one of our skills is CPR. That's something everyone should know, I think, because you never know when you could encounter someone who is in need of it, and those minutes that they aren't receiving CPR are really dangerous. So I think it's important that we are learning these skills to be able to save lives. I also plan on using it as a backup plan. I want to be a radio technician, which I like to think of them as photographers. They basically take all your x-rays, your CT scans, your MRIs, and they aren't able to diagnose you, which I think is a little bit weird, but I think it's a really interesting field. And even if you want to be like a surgeon or a nurse or anything else, I think that EMT, it's a really good basis of knowledge for the healthcare field, and I think it'll help all of us out no matter where we go.
So EMT for me was a stepping stone just to kind of feel like what I might want to do, another experience I could add on. And for me personally, it has done a lot for that. It has opened my eyes for a lot of different careers. I want to, right now, thinking about NICU nurse, but I'm not 100% sure. But with this, I can also take the certification into college with me. I do plan on working as an EMT throughout college, just like Riley said, as well.
Yeah, it's also a stepping stone for me. It's good to have the knowledge when working in the medical field. I plan to go to OTC and probably ultrasound right now. That's what I'm thinking about.
So we would like to give some of you guys some advice if you plan on going into the medical field, or if you have someone who wants to take the EMT course. Really fast, I would like to show you guys. This is our book. It's pretty big, and we've been learning it and studying it throughout the entire course. And one piece of advice I'd like to give every one of you is that the patients do not read the book. I think that everyone is unique in their own way, in multiple ways, but also with everyone's autonomy and physiology. I think everything's different. The way one patient might respond to an emergency, another patient may respond differently. And I think it's really cool how all of our experiences, our health, our diet, anything we're currently going through, any emergencies that we are currently facing, it changes our bodily autonomy. And I think it's really cool how everyone's different. And my advice is just keep an open mind and be prepared for anything you might see out in the field, because what you see in your book may not be what you get.
So my advice for everybody that might be interested in this class is, like I said earlier, just to remember to study. You really, really need to study. And don't just study one way. Go through a whole bunch of methods and see which works best for you as well.
Yeah, I would say study a lot outside school, manage your time, and try not to fall behind.
This course has offered a lot of us some invaluable skills, and it has also opened a wide range of careers in the medical field. And whether we want to help others advance our professional development or just gain a sense of fulfillment, I think that this course has offered a lot of us a lot of knowledge and hands-on experience that will allow us to respond effectively to any critical moments that we face in the future. And this course has also been a rewarding path that we are all happy to be a part of. And before we leave, I'd like to thank our instructors, our fellow classmates, and everyone else that showed up. Thank you for watching our presentation.
Hello everybody, my name's Lillian Young. I'm a junior at Aurora High School, and I'm in the Agribusiness and Food Systems strand of GoCaps. So, Empowering Future Farmers and Harvesting Knowledge is a tutoring program I created for peers tutoring peers. As contest season was coming up, I knew that a lot of FFA students were going to struggle because of missing work, missing school, and having not enough time to do their schoolwork. So I wanted to create a program so that they would have time in school to be able to do their work. And so, as contest season was coming, grades were slipping, and members were on the failing list, because during contest season, you are missing school to go to contests, workshops, and they just don't have enough time to do it unless they do it at home or do it in after-school tutoring. But the problem with that is that a lot of students can't do after-school tutoring for various reasons, like work, can't have a ride, other stuff. And when you're doing homework at home, you really don't have the resources you need to be able to complete it fully. And a lot of students just need help. And so why is this an issue? Members were being put on the failing list, and they can't participate in contests because contest season is an absolute privilege, because to be able to do contests, you have to be able to manage your grades as it is an out-of-school activity. And so it's just really important to stay on top of everything and do all of your work. And so I decided as my first step, I needed to create a survey and ask these students what they're struggling in and what their classes that they need help in is. And so a lot of students said that, actually 63% students said it's because they couldn't understand the material that was being put at hand. 18% said it's because they couldn't focus. 9% said it's because they couldn't stop talking. And another 9% said it's because they were just absolutely failing the tests. And so this really just gave us the foundation that we needed to be able to create the program. And so my next step was to create the most suitable mentors for each subject. So I created a survey and sent it out to the Aurora FFA chapter officers about what subjects that they believe they could absolutely be the best in and help tutor in. And so then I had civils really put them on it so that they were actually answering it. And so after they answered it, I put together a list of the subjects and the people that said they could tutor. And me and civils went and asked each teacher if they believed that these students would actually be correct and would be a good, suitable fit, so that we were completely setting everyone up for success. And so that day is that day we started tutoring, and we were helping them with math, science, English, or any other things they needed help with, such as contests. That day, I sat down with one of our FFA members and walked her through 4 different worksheets, all different subjects. I watched as she slowly became comfortable and confident with each one of her answers, when beforehand she did not understand the material at all. And so that really just gave me hope on that the program was going to work. And so then after the first 2 tutoring sessions, I sent out another survey, and I just wanted to know if this tutoring program was helping people. And 10 out of the 11 people in Miss Civils' Ag Science 1 class said that it was helping them in their classes. The one person who said no really just didn't take the program seriously and sat there and talked the entire time. And so this is my business partner, Miss Christy Civils. She has been my ag teacher for 4 years now. I've had her since 8th grade. She really just helped me, and she opened her classroom doors with full arms. She really let me take over. I asked her stuff. I told her what I needed, and she really just put it in full force. And I'm very grateful for her. And then really, I want to expand this program, whether that be 1 year from now or 3 years from then. I believe that I could help these members and give them the time and the resources they need to keep their grades up and be totally successful in contest season. And so I really think if people take this program seriously, that I can continue to help future generations of FFA members. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Castle Speaker. I am a senior at Aurora High School, and I'm in the GoCaps Agribusiness and Food Systems strand. So today I'm going to talk about elder wisdom, growing prosperity, and growing health and prosperity with Ozarks elderberries. So before we get started within my capstone, I want to give everyone a little bit of background as to what got me towards getting to this capstone. So one of my mentors that really helped me pick a mentor within my capstone is Dr. Andy Thomas. He works at the Southwest Research Center in Mount Vernon by the University of Missouri. One of my experiences I had through him is getting to see a college thesis seminar where they had to defend it. It was a 50 to 100-page paper. And I got to listen to their presentation on elderberry genotypes, the fruit chemistry, and I really got intrigued towards this. Andy has really helped me. He does a lot towards horticulture, agronomy, and agroforestry. So I've had several experiences towards the elderberries, from doing some different lab work I'll show you guys here in a minute, to measuring the diameters of the elderberry plants, and then also working with grapes and walnuts and pecans. So that's been enjoyable this year. And this picture I have up here is more like whenever you get your master's and your doctorate degree, you're going to be expected to do a thesis statement. So I really enjoyed this experience, and this has led me to this. Doing some lab work at the research farm, I was able to do some different work with the tubes, getting the juices, getting some measurements on the bricks and sugar levels. And after doing this, I was able, to help contributively towards getting this lab work over to the University of Missouri. So I was helping others within their research. And then the next step that got me towards this capstone was back in November, I was given the opportunity in an email by Miss Merriman on the community health internship by the Greater CAPS program out of Kansas City. So I went ahead, applied to this program. I saw a picture of plants within this application, so I thought, well, maybe there's something within environmental health that I can help with. And once I got into this program in January, this is where I it talked more about the health care than what I was initially expecting, but this was good enough for me. Like, whenever I was starting to dig in, know more about this internship, I decided elderberry plus the health benefits equals a wonderful capstone with healthcare and agribusiness combined. We all seem to work together so much, so it seemed to blend in very well. So my business partner was Mr. David Bueller out at Elder Farms. He also does Bueller Organics as well. He does a lot with breeding and then selling his own products at Elder Farms with elderberries. He grows the elderberries, produces them, and then he sells them at point-of-sale locations making different products, which I will show you guys here in a minute. So my first part, what motivated me to get this in is Southwest Missouri is one of the top producers in elderberry production. We have rich and strong production within elderberries. Lawrence County is the #1 producer in elderberries in the United States, which is very thankful. It's very intriguing that we're able to get this product out here and know about it. And then the second part is the health benefits, which I've mentioned. It's good for immune support, allergies. It's very beneficial there. And then you have the lack of education. So what I discovered whenever I was interviewing Mr. David Bueller on this was that not everyone... People know about elderberries, but they don't know the ins and outs of elderberries. So my goal within this capstone was to be able to educate people, but at the same time, try and give Mr. Bueller a little bit more business. So before I jump into my problem statement and my objective, I would like to talk a bit what he sells. So we have your Nobleberry Premium Soda, which you can see commonly a lot at Garden Exchange and Keen Bean in Mount Vernon if you go out there. Then you have the Wildflower Honey, and then you have Immune and Shot Syrup, but you also have Wellness Shots, Body Serum, and Elderberry Powder. So my problem statement was that with Southwest Missouri elderberry producers, they're selling this product, they're having good luck with it, but then you get some people out there who are unsure if they want to buy the product, or they go to its stand and he doesn't have a pamphlet or an infographic, which I'll show you here in a minute, about these products. They're high quality, significant health benefits. You can't just go out, bring this product out here and expect to sell it right away. It's not rocket science. So key challenges faced, I've talked about the marketing, the point of sale location that Bueller goes to. He, if you were to go to Springfield and try to sell these products at the farmer's market, you're getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and then you're there till 6 o'clock at night by the time you clean up. And you're only getting a couple $100 profit from it. Farmers markets used to work in the past, but they don't seem to work as much anymore. And then supply and demand. COVID is a big contributor towards this. Back when COVID hit, you got this excess supply, and then all of a sudden, 3-4 years down the road, you're getting rid of it. So my goal within this capstone is to be able to get more elderberry producers within Southwest Missouri that can contribute to this. And then we have the supply chain. In case any of you didn't know, 95% of our current elderberries are imported from Europe. That means only 5% of them are organic within the United States, and the majority of that is right here in the heart of the Ozarks in Lawrence County. So with my objective is to establish an educational method that teaches these people, the consumers, how to, the health benefits of elderberries. With those health benefits, and then differentiate the difference between Ozark elderberries that we have here and the elderberries that are imported. So this QR code I have up here is linked to this deliverable. I also have it on my poster board out here. I figured once you guys leave today and you forget some of this information, you can go back to this QR code, go ahead and scan it before you leave, save it to your phone, and then you can look back and see what products do they sell, the different benefits, the uses, and then how it's a sustainable health solution. So the future for Elder Farms, when I spoke with Mr. Bueller interviewing, he wanted to develop more partnerships. He had spoken with Andy's Frozen Custard to potentially sell some of his product over there. And then the new markets, he had mentioned that Northwest Arkansas is currently a gold mine. More people getting in there. He thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to grow and expand and sell over there. And then the increased consumer awareness with my infographic. So in conclusion, I would like to say that I'm going to use some of this research towards my future agronomy career. After high school, I'm going to go to Crowder College, get my associates, then go up to Northwest Missouri State for my bachelor's, and then potentially a master's or doctorate at South Dakota State University, which I have used really well. I thank Andy for his expertise towards, getting me to that point and knowing what that thesis seminar I'm going to have to be able to defend. And then with Elder Farms, I wish them luck within their future endeavors. I've found a hidden gem within the Ozarks that shows what they do within their elderberry production. And I would also like to thank my instructor, Mrs. Huntress, Miss Merriman, Dr. Andy Thomas, my business partner, Mr. David Bueller, and Chet Butterworth, who has helped me throughout my Go Caps journey. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Macy West. I am a senior at Mount Vernon High School, and this is my second year in the medicine healthcare strand of Go Caps and my first year in the EMT strand.
Hi, my name is Ivan Gibfried. I am a first year in the Healthcare and Emergency Services Go Cap strand, and I'm a junior at Monett High School.
Hello, my name is Ronnie Rodriguez. I'm a senior at Monett High School, and this is also my second year in the Healthcare and Emergency Services strand.
Coming into the program, I was looking forward to a lot of the hands-on things, and it didn't quite cross my mind that the thick textbook that Brian showed you earlier was going to be given to us on the first day, and we were going to dive right in. So something that I had to learn really quickly is my study habits. Like Allie said, I'm not much of a studier either, and I never really have been. And so going through the chapter on the first day and realizing after that I was really going to have to find what works for me and how I'm going to be successful. And so that's a big takeaway for me from this program, because I can take that into college and I can learn from how I've been successful in this program and use it to be successful when I go to college.
An experience that I was looking forward to, and an experience that has really taught me a lot, was the ride-alongs themselves. Just learning about how the pre-hospital setting works with how it works in the district, like where they live, and in the back of the ambulance, and what all things they have to do they have to do it a certain way, and just learning how that pre-hospital setting works. Even if you aren't wanting to go into to live your life as EMS, it's still very good for you to know how that pre-hospital setting works and what they do.
I think for me personally, one of the biggest experiences I took out of this was honestly the medical information that we all learned. It was even though it was only since the start of this this year in January, I think we really covered a lot of topics, a lot of things that I honestly had no idea, and I think a lot of us can relate who were put into this program. We had no idea what we were going to learn, and it really covered a lot of bases, and it really informed us really well. And it's honestly really good because I'm going to take this information and I'm going to go out and I'm going to continue my career, and this is like the foundation to everything, and it's amazing what we learned in such a short amount of time.
So the skill that I'm going to talk about today is the same one that Riley talked about earlier. It is eye gel management. So it is essentially an airway that you can drop into someone's mouth and into their airway to breathe for them. So the thing on the left, it goes down into your airway and it creates a seal. And then we attach the BVM that Ivan will talk about later, and we breathe for you if you are not breathing on your own.
So the skill that I've chosen is the BVM, as well as 2 other people have already chosen it. But I really like this skill. It's a very simple skill, but it is very crucial. So the main thing that you would use it for is assisting with ventilations during CPR, or if they need to keep positive pressure on a patient's lungs. So if you had fluid in the lungs, keeping positive pressure in their lungs can help expel that fluid, and is a very crucial part of helping the patient.
I picked a very simple skill. As you can see, it's the one in the middle. It's actually oxygen administration. So even though it's really a simple skill that I think anybody could do, it really is the backbone to almost anything that we do in EMS or EMT. Any patient assessment we do, any trauma assessment we do, any shock treatment, iGel, BVM, and any non-rebreather, we have to learn how to use an oxygen tank and how to set it up, how to turn on the dial, and it really is an essential skill for all of us to learn, and it really is the backbone to a lot of our skills that we do.
The skills, like Brian showed you earlier, come on those papers that we were given, and we are to memorize them and do them word for word whenever we have skill checkoffs. And so it's really important that we are learning these essential skills and how they can make a difference in the patient's life that you are working with. So for my ride-along experience, we had a patient who had recently had an arterial clot, and so he ended up having to have his leg amputated below the knee. And while he was in the hospital recovering, he contracted a UTI, and so we were dispatched to his residence because his caregiver said that he was just not his normal self. He is typically bilingual. However, at this time, he was Spanish speaking exclusively, and so he did not want to talk to us in English, or he couldn't because of his altered mental status. And so it was really eye-opening to see that, to where how illnesses can affect your body so much that you can be bilingual whenever you're in a normal state of mind, but the second that you have an altered mental status, you automatically go from being bilingual to only being one exclusively.
One of my cool ride-along experiences that I really enjoyed and thought was very interesting was I had a patient with a very fast heart rate, and the rhythm of her heart was not correct. And so one of the cool things you can do, it's called cardioversion. You can use electrical shocks to fix this patient's heart, or you can use medication. At this time, we had used the medication, and once it goes to the patient's heart, it'll basically restart the heart. It'll stop it and then put it back into a normal rhythm, and it'll also control that heart rate, so it'll slow it down very drastically, and it'll keep that patient's heart rate at a very good rhythm and steady pace.
I think one of my coolest ride-along experiences actually was with my best friend over here, Riley Ray, and we were both working on a shift together, and then we were put on standby for a helicopter. So that basically means that we had to be there in case the helicopter had to turn around for some reason. We were right there to be ready to take this patient from here to wherever they needed to go. So we were there, and we actually got to contact with the patient, and this patient had a STEMI, and they need to be life flighted over to Cox. So what we did is that we helped the crew like take the patient out and actually load him onto the helicopter, and that was a really cool experience because, you know, you see it from like the distance. You can see, like, if, let's say you see a wreck on the side of the highway, you maybe see the helicopter come in. It's kind of cool to see it from distance, but actually being up there really close and helping out these flight medics and this flight nurse put this patient onto there was a really cool experience, and I think it's one of my favorite experiences I ever had in EMT.
Another thing, I always thought like it was so intriguing to see what they did in this kind of pre-hospital setting, but being on the other side of it and actually being like the healthcare provider has been super eye-opening for me in this experience as well. Like I said again, one of my main, I guess you could call it like basing my performance off of my studying. I noticed that once I found my study habits and what worked for me, I was ultimately seeing success in the classroom and in the field. And another thing is that it's going to give me some experience in the healthcare field as a stepping stone into whatever else I choose to do in my life.
So kind of going along with Macy, my grades and just my performance in the classroom at the start of this class wasn't the best I could do, but this class really teaches you how to study, which I think is a very critical thing to know for high school students, because like we don't have to study much, and so before you go into college, just getting that experience on how to study, how to find your study way, because all people have different ways that they study. And so just how to find your way of studying really helped me out. And it's really boosted my performance in the class. And something else is the skills that we learned in this class. Even if you are not looking to go into a EMS career, just knowing these skills like CPR, how to the BVM, how to bag mask a patient and give them breaths that they need to maybe save their life is a very, very good thing and a very good experience.
I think all of our performance probably varied in some degree, but I think all of us could probably say at the very start we struggled, and that was very apparent. And I think a lot of us spoke about that we struggled. But you know, I think they have said, almost any of them have came up here and said, studying will be your best friend, and then learning how to study is really like the best thing that I think we've all learned from this. How to manage your own time, how to study at home, how to be on track on your own time is one of the biggest key takeaways and our biggest performances that we had for this class. And so the preparation that this has provided me personally is that I'm actually going to be enlisting into the Army National Guard as a 68 Whiskey, which is a combat medic. So this is going to help me out a lot with getting information in, and when I'm actually in training, and having bookwork already in my back is gonna really excel me in the program in training. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I think a lot of us are looking forward to what this is preparing us for. A lot of us are ready to go out there and start our careers in something. So
for the program, it has been super amazing for me. GoCaps as a whole, I've been in it for 2 years now, and it's really given me experiences that I never thought I would be able to have as a high school student. But the EMT course specifically has really just been a stepping stone and a path to the right direction for entering the field of medicine.
So something that I have is that, so with this EMS program, we got told by all of our instructors, you guys need to learn how to think outside the box. And so that is that's something that I think is really good for just your life in general, as well as thinking outside the box, thinking of, like, you might come up on a patient and that patient's condition or chief complaint wasn't in the book, or it wasn't exactly what it was said in the book. And so just learning about how to think outside the box and how to help your patient not just do it exactly by the book, but learn how to, if you do get a roadblock, how to get past that roadblock. And I think that's a very good thing on just our life in general, and it's really changed how I really look at the world around me, and that's been a really great experience for me.
I think how I'd promote this program is that, just like Macy said, this really opens up a lot of pathways, more than you could probably think of, and this is really a really good foundation for anything that any of us want want to go to after this. But another thing that I think personally has helped me a lot when I've been in GoCaps, for the 2 years that I've been in GoCaps, I learned a lot of careers, a lot of new paths. I met a lot of new professionals that I've gotten information from, and it's been really helpful. And being in there shadowing or even riding along and learning and seeing what other careers are offered, it's amazing, because I remember going in and having a clue in the world what I wanted to do in healthcare. But this has really opened my eyes and has made me make sure that this is what I want to do for my future. So that's how I'd promote GoCaps.
So our mentor was Shayla Bass. Shayla's over here. She really likes attention. She is one of our main instructors, and she's been phenomenal for all of us. She is one of the most knowledgeable people as an EMT, and she's been super helpful in anything that we've needed. If we have questions, we can always go to her and ask, and she's always willing to help us through our questions or problem solving. And a big thing for me is that she has so much experience in the field, so whenever we're riding along with her, in particularly, or Alicia or any of the other instructors, is that they're willing to let us do the patient care, but they're willing to help us in any way that we might need. Shayla has been an EMT for 11 years at Barry Lawrence County Ambulance District here in Monette. She is currently in paramedic school as well, and she's working diligently towards that. Her why behind getting into EMS is really just, she said it was really cool to be the person that's trusted in somebody's home to care for them or their loved ones on potentially the worst day of their life. And I think that really speaks a lot to her character and her willingness to help others in the community. As far as us as students go, she said we were very eager learners and we have high potential for success in the field. And like Riley and Mr. Ernest said earlier, it's a lot of the weaknesses come from a lack of experience, which is what we're trying to gain now while being in this program. Again, she is very helpful, knowledgeable, and experienced as an EMT. My future plans are to attend Harding University to obtain my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. From there, I would like to work in critical care or a trauma center emergency department. At some point in my career, I would also like to fly and be a flight nurse. And then ultimately, I would like to become a certified registered nurse anesthetist, which is a nurse anesthesia provider. And so I will go to anesthesia school later on after I get some work experience.
My future career that I want to go in is right after high school. I want to actually go into the EMS and be an EMT. And then I plan on about 2 to 5 or 5 to 10 years of being an EMT to get my paramedics license and continue my EMS journey.
Like I mentioned before, I actually enlisted into the Army National Guard as a 68 Whiskey, and I plan to do that and get my training in. And as soon as I come back, I want to go and get my undergraduates in biology or chemistry or something in the lines of that, and apply to MSU's PA school, which is a good 2-year program up in Springfield that is for physician's assistants.
I just want to thank you all for being here today. Thank Mr. Ernest, our instructors, and Ms. Merriman for everything that they've helped us accomplish this year.
Well, congratulations. Y'all did it. Very good. I don't know about you all, but I'm pretty encouraged. I think we will be in good hands with our future workforce. So we're so proud of these students, the work and effort they put in. So please continue to stay with us, visit with our students out in the atrium, and get to know them and their projects a little bit better. But thank you for spending your afternoon with us today.
Mobley's been a wonderful instructor, and I've had a few other teachers too. Leanne Morris.
Oh, yeah. Very good. You have Miss Mobley there at Aurora, don't you?
Go stand at your